है रोशनी का कारवां।
This podcast is brought to you by Score Foundation.
ये है रोशनी, रोशनी, रोशनी का कारवां, रोशनी। आए वे, ये है रोशनी का कारवां।
हाय नमस्कार, मैं जॉर्ज इब्राहिम आईवे कॉन्वर्सेशंस के इस कड़ी में आपका स्वागत है। आज हमारा मेहमान मुंबई की निवासी है। उनका नाम है उमेहानी बगसरवाला। शी इज अ कॉर्पोरेट एग्जीक्यूटिव। हाय उमेहानी।
Good evening, George. Sir, how are you doing?
यू हैव अ वेरी यूनिक नेम उमेहानी। उमेहानी का मतलब क्या है?
To my knowledge, जितना मुझे पता है, Umehani, so the first half, that is Ume, is the mother of Hani, and Hani was referred to as the sister of Hazrat Ali, or whom we call Maulana Ali. He was the son-in-law of Prophet Muhammad. So his sister's name was Hani.
तो आपके नाम के पीछे एक छोटी सी इतिहास भी है।
Yes.
आप एक मल्टीनेशनल बैंक में कार्यरत है और ये बैंक में आप कितने सालों से कार्यरत है और क्या करते हैं आप?
मैं डॉइचे बैंक, DEUTSCHE, डॉइचे बैंक में कार्यरत हूँ और कल 4 साल कंप्लीट हो जाएंगे। मैं केवाईसी सेक्शन में आउटरीच कम्युनिकेशंस में हूँ, यानी कि आम भाषा में या सरल भाषा में जिसे हम कस्टमर कम्युनिकेशन कहते हैं, फॉर पर्टेनिंग टू केवाईसी इश्यूज।
आप जिस बैंक में काम करते हैं, डॉइचे बैंक, ऐसे बैंक या मल्टीनेशनल बैंक्स में नौकरी करने के लिए क्या प्रावधान है? आर देयर एनी रिजर्वेशंस और डू दे हैव
So I believe
क्वालिफिकेशंस?
every bank does have CSR initiatives. And if you ask me, like if I talk about myself, so I was lucky enough when the time when I was looking out for employment opportunities, a family friend who's also one of my volunteers knew the CEO of my bank. उस टाइम पे एक ऑप्शन था where a person could refer someone's CV. Okay, एज इन सामने वाला सिर्फ सीवी भेज सकता है किसी का, बाकी पूरा रिक्रूटमेंट प्रोसेस आपको करना है। वो मेरे टाइम पे इट वाज अ 6 to 8 month rigorous process that I had to undergo, because one is I was one of a kind in my team who was visually impaired. They had never experienced in the KYC sector somebody with a vision impairment. They wanted to understand what a visually impaired can do with the screen reader. So I have had almost 2 to 3 practical rounds too.
ऐसे रिक्रूटमेंट में वो क्या देखते हैं आप? व्हाट वर द
वो
क्वालिफिकेशंस दैट दे
हर
वर
चीज
लुकिंग
देखते
फॉर?
हैं आपका। So basically, what I understand is in any good organization, graduation is mandatory. That's the base that they look at least in Deutsche. Okay.
ओके।
उसके अलावा they see your computer skills. उसके the most and the supremely important part of an interview in a corporate sector is, to my knowledge, is your skills set in English. Your skill set in English, as well as not only spoken but written equally.
आपका जो रोल है इसमें, इज इट अ डेस्क जॉब और डू यू हैव अ क्लाइंट फेसिंग रोल और डू यू हैव
No.
टू
So
ट्रैवल?
it's more of a desk-oriented job, because where I sit is a back office. It's not the bank branch. And for us, the communication either is written through emails. If not emails, then it happens over a call, but never really face to face with a client per se.
एंड आपका डीलिंग सारे कॉर्पोरेट क्लाइंट्स के साथ है।
Yes.
डॉइचे बैंक ज्वाइन करने से पहले आप सेल्स एंड मार्केटिंग का काम किया है। तो
Yes, I have been part of sales and marketing. In fact, कुछ चीजें मैं अभी भी करती हूँ because ये जो network marketing वाली industry होती है, like things like Avon, Amway, these things never end. You can continue for however long you wish to desire. They do not have a proper employment strategy in the sense जब आपने छोड़ा तो आपको offer letter मिलेगा, वैसा नहीं होता है इनका. So it is like a side income. Okay. And other than that, I have worked with Vodafone in a direct sales agency for almost, if I'm not wrong, 4 to 5 years, where I was involved in selling सिम कार्ड. इफ आप लोग में से बहुत लोगों ने नोटिस किया होगा कि हमें आजकल फोन आते हैं या मैसेजेस आते हैं फॉर अ न्यू पोस्ट पेड नंबर और कन्वर्टिंग टू वोडाफोन पोस्ट पेड. So that's where I was involved.
आपने डायरेक्ट मार्केटिंग का भी जिक्र किया. यू स्पोक अबाउट डायरेक्ट मार्केटिंग विद कंपनीज लाइक Avon and Amway.
Yes, true.
So it is something which is it is a side income, a side profession, as well as probably a
Yes.
kind of self-employment.
A self-employment.
Yeah. So how do you actually go about as a visually impaired person?
So I have a mentor who has been mentoring me. Okay. In fact, she is a friend of my mom and she does know that I have this disability. So she has been walking me through the entire process and guiding me how to approach a customer. Now, a simple thing like if I say skincare, okay, if I have to approach a customer for skincare products, so I have to ask the customer's skin type, okay, whether it is dry, whether it is combination skin, whether the person has any other blemishes, so on and so forth. So it's basically an entire communication process, and based on how the customer communicates to you, then if you're able to recommend yourself, if not, you connect the person to the team. And I'm also part of something known as Meyer, Meyer. Okay,
Ji.
that is also kind of a self-employment, which is a US company which has healthy cookware products.
Okay.
When I say cookware, it has utensils, it has pots and pans.
If you know of anyone with vision impairment who needs guidance in living life with blindness, please share the Ivy National Helpline number 8800004334. The number is 8800004334.
आपने कहा कि आप ये मल्टी लेवल मार्केटिंग कंपनीज में काम किया है और अभी भी कर रहे हैं. एंड देन यू आल्सो सेड यू वर्क विद Vodafone.
Yes.
So Vodafone,
Okay,
I guess
that
it
is
was
something which I would not recommend anybody because ये जो sales line है typically the SIM card selling, okay, anything that has targets is very difficult to meet with in terms of a visually impaired, okay, because in this industry, especially where you're selling SIM cards, okay, now it depends on the rapport also that you have built with the owner of the company. Okay. Otherwise, the team leads really take you for a ride. Okay. I'm sorry to say, but I don't mean to disorient anybody or, deject anybody or demotivate anybody. But the reality is in this industry, you have to be prepared to listen to the thrash that they give you for not being able to deliver. Their language is completely not acceptable. They start abusing you, and for them it is only their target. They forget that you're a human. They forget the humanity. They forget the shortcomings also that you have.
This happens in Mumbai also.
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay.
So I have worked in 2 companies for this Vodafone. Okay. The second company that I had joined, not the first one, but the second company, I barely must have worked for about a month, maybe. And it so happened that एक बार ऐसा हुआ कि मेरा टारगेट कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ. कि those people kept me in office till 9:30 p.m. Okay. despite the fact that they knew that I am visually impaired and all of that. And ठीक है, मेरे साथ जो होना था with the rickshaw guy misleading me and etc. After that, my parents never sent me back because this was something that was truly unacceptable.
Hmm.
And they did not even pay me for that overtime.
Right. So it's a bit of a heartless world.
Yes, it's a heartless world,
Yeah.
to be very honest.
So how do these BPOs recruit people? Do they have a set format, or again it's word of mouth and references and so on?
It depends. Sometimes it's a word of mouth. Sometimes they have a set format. It purely depends.
And
In fact, I am looking at touching base with companies because, of course, I will come back to it when we talk about my social initiative. But through our organization, Pearls of Vision, I am desperately trying to reach out to companies hiring / willing to hire people with disabilities.
you mentioned Pearls and Vision just
Yes.
now, and
Yeah.
this, I believe, is something that you started.
Correct.
So, what was the motive behind starting this
Uh,
organization?
so when I was back in school and college, there
Mhm.
was no organization, or of course, Snehankit may have been there, but I didn't know about it. Okay. I had never come across any institute or any organization that could read material to me, where I could have a volunteer who could read to me, where I could easily avail a volunteer for writing my exams, because I had a hard struggle, an extremely hard struggle. So, at least in school, my only reader, okay, my tutor or my reader was my mom. I was solely dependent on her because as we were unaware of any other facility. And I remember the pain that my mom used to go through in looking out for a scribe / writer. It was a struggle, a very, very bad struggle.
So, what
We have
happened?
been through situations where we've actually paid people handsome amounts in order to write my exam.
Right.
And in spite of that, there have been times where people would ditch me at the 11th hour and I would be stranded in thin air, knowing not where to go.
Yep.
So, had there been a channel or a platform to avail such facilities, I guess life would have been easier for me too.
आपका जो Pearls and Vision इस प्रॉब्लम को कैसे सॉल्व करता है?
Unfortunately, we still sail through the same situation, though we have touched base with the NSS units of certain colleges. Okay, but abhi bhi ye problem hai. I will not say that it is vanished. The problem still prevails. There are times we literally have to deny a request jahan par ye criteria aa jata hai, one step below wala,
तो
because हम भी मजबूर हो जाते हैं.
तो ये जो वॉलंटियर्स, जो स्क्राइब्स वगैरह जो आप ढूंढते हैं,
Okay.
स्पेशली स्कूल स्टूडेंट्स, जहाँ पर 12वीं कक्षा हो या 10वीं कक्षा हो, उनको स्क्राइब्स आप कहाँ से लाते हैं?
For 10th graders, it is impossible actually. Because अभी आप ही मुझे बताइए, आप एक पेरेंट है, ठीक है, क्या आप अपने 8वीं या 9वीं के बच्चे को भेजोगे किसी का 10वीं का एग्जाम लिखने के लिए? जब आपके ही बच्चे के एग्जाम्स चल रही है, तो क्या आप अपने बच्चे को भेजेंगे किसी का 10th बोर्ड लिखने के लिए? सिंपल क्वेश्चन.
सो राइट, सो ये हम लोग वापस पर्ल्स एंड विजन के पास आते हैं. सो व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज पर्ल्स एंड विजन डूइंग? वन थिंग इज आप लोग ब्लाइंड स्टूडेंट्स को वॉलंटियर्स, रीडर्स, राइटर्स का सपोर्ट देने का प्रयास करते हैं. इज इट सिर्फ मुंबई में या इज इट ऑल
No,
ओवर?
we try to cater to requests pan India, but it depends on the condition. I mean, if it is a no age bar situation, at least the other parts of India we can try through social media. But if it has the one step below situation, then it becomes difficult because we do not know students in other cities in India.
ठीक है, तो पर्ल्स एंड विजन्स मेरे ख्याल से आपने शुरू किया था 2016 में, 15 में.
Yes, I started in 2015.
Right. So, but the group has seems to have grown. There
Oh,
seems
the
to be a lot of
WhatsApp group
members.
has grown, correct.
So इसका कारण क्या है?
I don't know, a lot of it is word of mouth.
नहीं, but इसमें क्या चर्चा क्या होता है? Meaning, what is the
So the
activity है?
WhatsApp group that we have, Pearls of Vision ka, Superstars ka,
Hmm.
we try to give a holistic experience to the differently abled. In the sense, we try to keep them updated on whether it is technology, whether it is any event for the visually impaired, whether it is uh, an employment opportunity for the visually impaired. At times, we have a few games. At times, we try to have interactive sessions. Now, we are slowly trying to have certain trainings, webinars, one day workshops. We're trying to get closer to the community virtually.
तो ये जो आप पर्ल्स एंड विजन,
Mhm.
ये आपका activities, is it through WhatsApp groups or you have other platforms also?
No, majorly WhatsApp only.
तो
And then, of course, if we have something virtual, then we ask people to join Zoom, etc.
पर्ल्स एंड विजन, आपका आगे का क्या प्लान है?
So, through Pearls of Vision, we intend to create recruitment, create employment opportunities for the PWD. Of course, voluntarily, we have no monetary gains. We're aiming at legally registering our organization hopefully soon. And besides that, we want to impart a lot of trainings to the community because a lot of them still face challenges with getting the right kind of training.
जब आप ट्रेनिंग कहते हैं तो किस प्रकार का ट्रेनिंग, व्हाट आर द काइंड ऑफ ट्रेनिंग्स यू आर एक्चुअली लुकिंग एट?
So, at least whatever we can through the computer, that is one thing. As of now, we are still brainstorming on what more can we do and what more webinars can be introduced.
सो आपका जो ये पर्ल्स ऑफ विजन जो है उसमें आपके अलावा जब आप ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग करते हैं
So,
तो who are the other people with you?
okay. So, if I talk about the committee, the management committee now, we are a panel
जी
of 3.
जी
Other than that, we have that is Samir Latte, Mukesh Jain, and myself,
राइट
who look into the overall management part of it.
जी
Otherwise, for the reader writer activity, we have a team followed by Talha Ansari, Amrita Pillai, Shazia Fazal, Rupali Kari, and I hope I'm not forgetting anyone else. Yes, we have Rima Desai also, who looks into the creative collages for us.
To support our work with the blind and visually impaired, you can visit the donate page on our website www.scorefoundation.org.in. Please note www.scorefoundation.org.in.
ये जो आप का जो आंखों का प्रॉब्लम है, ये जन्म से है या दिस इज समथिंग दैट यू अक्वायर्ड अलोंग द वे?
No, so I was born visually impaired, is what I am aware of.
जी
But I, of course, it did take me a while to accept the fact that okay, I have this challenge, and but बोलते ना जब अपने पर पड़ती है, so you have no option but to accept it and move on. So
what are the skills that you feel that have helped you get to where you are?
I wouldn't say skill, but for me, the biggest thing was my mom, who was always my big support for everything, whether it was academics, whether it was any extra co-curricular activity, anything that I have wanted to do. My mom and my dad were my biggest pillars, and most importantly, my mom. Because see, what happens is for us, being visually impaired, you need that family support. And for me, I was lucky enough that mom was with me in school till my 7th grade, where she used to write down all my notes, come back home, teach me. And if I had to go for any extracurricular activity, she used to drive me around.
Okay, she was playing the role of the special educator.
Yes, my mom was playing the role of a special educator.
Again, let me get back to the same question.
Mhm.
Support sabhi ko chahiye,
True that.
but to sustain your life in the classroom, in your college, or at work.
Okay, see, at
uh,
school, I'll tell you.
so let me just complete.
Mhm.
So, what are the skills that actually helped you? If you were to list the skills that you have, or that you developed, or that you were trained in, which came to your support or came to your
I was very good at maths in
yeah,
school.
yeah,
ठीक है, मेरे साथ मैथ्स को लेके भी एपिसोड हुए. Everyone has their pluses and minuses in their school and the school environment. I don't want to get into too much negativity.
hmm,
But my mathematical skills, my what do I say? My linguistic skills, because at home also, I was acquainted with 4 languages. In the sense, my mom would converse with me in English.
hmm,
My dad would would communicate with me in our mother tongue, that is Gujarati.
जी,
And we had a house help who was a Sanskrit graduate.
oh,
So she not only did she give me the exposure to Hindi, but equally she gave me the exposure to Marathi.
okay.
So listening to all 4 languages, I think I picked up fairly well.
So you talked about extracurricular activities. What were the extracurricular activities that you were drawn
Um,
to?
I had joined karate, but
Hmm,
unfortunately it had to stop because the coach could not teach me due to my vision disability.
hmm,
That was a sad part.
right,
I was into swimming. I love singing. I have started liking being on X, formerly known as Twitter.
right,
I like reading anything new on technology.
right,
So I'm an avid reader. I love reading. Braille is something that I love doing. I read this monthly magazine without fail. It's called White Print.
yeah,
It's a brilliant monthly magazine that one should go in for.
okay, okay. And what does White Print publish? What are the
So,
kind of articles?
they have a story.
Yeah,
They come up with some story, like a cover story or just a short story. Sometimes they bring up articles from different magazines, like the Caravan. Then they have one section where they have a quiz section. So it's a mix of everything.
normally people who are blind struggle. There's a little period of struggle when they are trying for a job.
Hmm.
What was did you get your Vodafone job right away, or you had
No,
to
so
look
Vodafone
around?
happened when I was in college.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
So, for me, more than the job situation, the turning point was losing my dad.
Hmm.
Because I was back then in my batch was the first batch where they started with board exams in both the semesters.
Right.
So during the first semester, my exams had begun in November. Then
Ji.
I had 2 papers in December, on 30th and 31st of December.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, 11th December was when my dad left me.
Right.
So that was the turning point. But mom never let me cry. She never let me brood over dad's death. She would
Yeah.
always say that, look, dad जाने वाले थे, वो तो चले गए. You have a life that is
Ji.
left in store for you, and you need to move on.
Yeah.
You can't keep crying.
Ji.
Not once has she ever made me miss a day of college. Even if I would not want to go, she would make sure that I went to college.
One
That's
more-
where Pearls of Vision happened immediately 4 days after his demise.
Right. So it's some
Pearls
kind of
of Vision.
some kind of dedication to him.
Oh, yes, truly.
Okay.
He was very socially active in his college days. He was a road He was into a lot of activities.
So, Mahani, it was a pleasure talking to
So,
you, and um,
oh, it was brilliant talking with you as well.
and wish you the very best as you go forward, both with your professional work as well as with your passion, that is Pearls of Vision.
Thank you so much.
आए वे ये है रोशनी का कारवां।
This podcast was brought to you by Score Foundation.
ये है रोशनी 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 का कारवां। रोशनी आए वे ये है रोशनी का कारवां।